Welcome to the Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Vantage Fit, the all-in-one AI-powered corporate wellness platform developed by Vantage Circle.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast. I'm your host Dipshi, and today I have with me the director at Never Grow Up, Asif Upadhye. Welcome to the show, Asif.
Hey, hi. Thanks, Dipshi. Thank you for having us here.
We're so glad to have you here today, Asif. So before delving into today's topic, could you please introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us about your journey?
Sure. First up, as you know, my name is Asif Upadhye. I'm a founder in Dark Knight at Never Grow Up, which is a work culture consulting firm. And we've been around for about 14 years. Prior to this, I used to be in the banking and financial services space, close to about 8 years of experience there. And sometime in 2010, we kicked off the journey.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. So let's start with today's topic. Can you explain in simple terms what neuroplasticity is and why it's crucial in the context of the ever-evolving landscape of people management?
Interesting question. First up, I would say that neuroplasticity is not a new concept, right? While theories around neuroplasticity have evolved, but it basically refers to the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. What this basically means is that earlier we used to feel and understand or think that children only up to a certain age can learn, or adults up to a certain age can't learn new things. But latest research shows that that's actually not true, and that our mind actually has the ability to learn new things irrespective of the age that we are at, which is actually a byproduct of our neurons being able to rewire themselves based on life experiences.
Okay.
Both positive and negative. And to take your second part of the question, which was the context of the landscape of people management, I would say the whole point about understanding neuroplasticity is that it allows individuals and organizations to adapt to newer challenges in the workplace.
Okay.
Now, if you understand that an organization, for the lack of a better word, is missing some of its agility, knowing that people in an organization can be rewired or retaught new things, probably in a fun way or an interesting way, to make sure that both they and the organization grow faster.
Yes. So in what ways does a holistic wellness approach align with the principles of neuroplasticity?
So look, when we look at it from a wellness perspective, there are multiple things to think of. One of the first things to think of is the fact that earlier wellness or well-being would not be looked at from just a single perspective, right? If you look at it, earlier wellness or well-being would either be about a physical program or a mental health program or just talking about work-life balance. But today it's a lot more. And I would say it's a lot more focused that encompasses areas right from financial well-being, emotional well-being, physical fitness, mental health at work. And then, of course, thinking about how every single aspect of a team member's life is interconnected. And knowing this, what sort of self do they bring to work? The other part of this is that it also helps in, if you look at it from the angle of resilience, right? A holistic approach would play a very critical role in fostering a resilient and adaptable workforce. And this could be done by addressing various aspects of employee well-being. But that in a nutshell would be the answer to the question.
And I believe especially after COVID, organizations have started prioritizing corporate wellness, right? Before that, I don't think it was that much in the trend. But nowadays, even employers are looking to prioritize that employee health, right?
I actually wouldn't agree to that.
Okay.
Look, wellness was looked at differently. It's not like corporate well-being or wellness hasn't been around. It's actually been around for quite some time, even pre-COVID. And we've seen this, we've run programs, we've done structured programs, we've worked with clients who really looked at the well-being of their employees. But incidentally, the pandemic brought everyone at the same level. And that realization that our mind is a muscle and that too needs to be taken care of. And that when do you build relatability in an organization? When everyone goes through the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would say COVID was just a tipping point. The pandemic was just a tipping point in that journey of understanding. It's not that people were not doing stuff. I mean, there are way more evolved organizations. Even Never Grow, for that matter, has had a counselor on board for the last 10 years.
Okay.
So it's not a trend, I would say, but it's more like, okay, people now realize the importance and now take it as a hygiene. And hey, you do need to look into mental health and well-being for your team members.
Yes. Okay, so let's dive into the science a bit. What is synaptic plasticity and how does it contribute to the learning and memory processes in the brain?
Okay. So look, I'm not an expert on this, but my understanding is what I'll be able to share on this. Okay. If you look at it from the science of what synaptic plasticity would be, it's basically the method or the role that our mind plays, more specifically our neurons, and the role our neurons play to either modify or strengthen the connections that they have. So when you look at it from a pattern perspective or from a fundamental perspective, it's more got to do with learning and memory. And the plasticity really means that there is a fair amount of adaptability and room for adaptability at multiple levels in our own mind. And that's what neuroplasticity aims to sort of rewire and understand. So you basically build your understanding about how our neural patterns can be rewired. This can happen at any stage in life, right? This is not just got to do with how you learn or how you adapt. But let's say you're going through a difficult situation, or let's say you've lost a loved one, or you've been in a situation that you've never really been in. Let's say you're problem solving a certain thing that you've never solved before. Traditional wisdom would say, okay, not possible to be done, right? But our mind works in mysterious ways. Now, knowing that our mind works in mysterious ways, if we can figure out as to how people can learn better and how can you make continuous learning an immersive part or an immersive journey of an employee life cycle, that will just help organizations, once again, I would say, not only understand their people better, but also help them grow and manifest right into what you're expecting out of them. One part of the cycle always will be that organizations or corporations will have expectations from employees. Like you'd like people to do something and move up the ladder or move up the ranks or etc. And one might feel, okay, say someone who's a 50-year-old or with 30 years of experience may not be able to bring the same tenacity that maybe a Gen Z would.
Yeah.
And that's what traditional wisdom would tell you. But that's not true, because it's really got to do with the kind of effort and attitude that a person comes with to the table. And knowing that our mind is very well equipped to handle situations like this will only give organizations a fresher look at their people.
And this neural rewiring, so do you think it can enable individuals and organizations adapt to new challenges in the workplace?
Look, absolutely. Knowing that our brain can reorganize itself is proof enough to know that if our own mind can reorganize itself, and if more than a homogeneous group of people start doing this, either through lessons on creativity, either through more emotional well-being and support, either through complex problem solving, within say a stringent time frame, you could actually steer thinking and help people grow. Because at the end of the day, what are you limited by? You're limited by what you think you can do. But if you rewire and say, okay, and I'm not saying you forcibly rewire, but you let people know that learning need not stop, and that you give people opportunities for them to learn new things, chances are that they will learn those new things and they'll be able to bring it back into work, no matter what generation or what time frame they come from.
Yes. And what do you think the HR's role is in this? How can they create a culture of continuous learning, and why is it so vital for an adaptive workforce?
Look, needless to say, I mean, if you're not learning,
Hmm.
you're stagnant.
Yes, exactly.
And I believe human resource teams have a pivotal role to play in fostering a culture of continuous learning within an organization.
Mm-hmm.
The impact of which is not just felt, uh, say, in a certain department or a particular individual, but it has direct impact on the bottom line. Like, let's say you train a bunch of people and equip them with a host of new skills. Hypothetically, let's just say you introduce someone to AI and you tell them the possibilities of doing something, right? Now, the fact that nobody thought about, hey, I could learn AI. Okay, let's say that's an individual limitation, but you can obviously run a learning program where people learn about how to best use AI. Now you use that learning and you take away some of your mundane tasks and let automation take it over. That means that a job that used to take an individual, say 8 to 10 hours in a company during a day, will now take 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah. Yes.
They can go home faster. Ergo, better work-life balance.
Exactly. And with continuous learning, I believe the work also doesn't get monotonous, right?
Absolutely. We've got to keep our minds busy. I think, okay, what makes someone look out of their jobs? Yes, of course, the culture of the place, but also, am I learning something? Or am I doing things that I've never done before? Or am I doing the same job over and over again? And it's not just about a job, right? It's even about what you eat. Would you be able to eat the same dish every day for 7 days in a week?
Yeah.
Similarly, after you've done a certain role and you've excelled at a certain role, it's always great to give people new challenges. Learning does not necessarily mean you have to run an L&D program.
Yes.
But you have to give people an opportunity to go beyond their comfort zone and try and experiment and allow them to fail as well.
Upskilling is very important, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, organizations should. I also believe that the people should be given tasks, different kinds of tasks, so that they can also learn and upskill themselves in the process.
Absolutely. And it's not the lack of opportunity, mind you, Dipshi. It's not that people don't have an opportunity to upskill. But it's not just an organization's responsibility to upskill, right?
Yes.
You cannot just sit in an organization and say, hey, no one put me through a training program. Say, okay, but why didn't you pick up a free course over the weekend?
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, both are important. An individual needs to acknowledge that I need to keep upskilling. And organizations need to acknowledge that, hey, I need to make sure that our teams are upskilling themselves.
True. And in the realm of change, how can HR take the lead in facilitating organizational change and promoting adaptability among employees?
Okay, complex question. But for example, you look at any change management program, right? It's an extremely time-consuming process. And when I mean time-consuming process, I don't mean the process implementation itself, but the impact of what change you'd like to bring in takes a fair amount of time. But if you can instill, I would say, programs that are anchored around adaptability, or programs that foster open communication, or the fact that programs that are built primarily to build an agile mindset, then those kind of specific initiatives can actually be very helpful in your change management initiatives. Because just the way stress and happiness flows top down, a big amount of change also has to flow top down. Let's say a manager has a certain style of working, right? And unless the manager changes their style of working, it's very less chances that the person who reports to that manager will even explore the possibility of changing.
Yes.
Because you're driven by that, right? You're driven by how your environment is.
Yes.
And that's critical to know, which is why I would say HR should be actually at the forefront of bringing this change top down.
Yes. And why do HR professionals need a basic understanding of neuroscience concepts, and what potential training programs or resources can enhance their neuroliteracy?
Okay, look, to be honest, I would say we've almost kind of covered this. Okay, knowing the importance of being able to learn and adapt, I think is one of the most critical things for any role. Forget HR, forget it doesn't matter whether HR is leading the change or whether it's an individual deciding to move forward. But what is critical in this role, and more specifically for HR teams, is how you can make sure that you can take people together and foster some of those initiatives. Like, for example, if you are looking at, say, a change management strategy, and you're looking at, say, making sure that people transition smoother, or how effective the plan is happening, then one of the things that's important to see is, okay, how much can HR personalize it? Because everybody has a certain learning path, and not everybody learns and adapts in the same way. So one of the things that HR could do is actually tailor programs based on certain segments, sets, or departments, using various data cuts and seeing how people actually respond to certain stimuli. So, for example, some people may learn better through the visual medium. Some people may actually learn better if things are explained to them through a game. And some people may learn even better just through literature. Studies, in fact, show that you need a combination of two or more certain synaptics to get that learning message across. Plus, we live in an attention deficient time. So nobody actually has the time to absorb things because we're constantly bombarded with messaging. So in that sense, one of the key roles that HR could play while planning a program like this is to make sure that it's bite-sized, and how one can actually think about looking at various sets of people and then building bite-sized programs for each, so that the learning doesn't seem like drudgery. It's more like, okay, it's more capsule-led rather than an insulin shot.
Yeah. And how might those emerging technologies integrate with neuroplasticity in the workplace? And what potential shifts in organizational structure can we anticipate?
Give me a second to think about this. But look from a technology perspective, there is so much happening in the realm of conversational AI, or in the realm of even understanding human behavior, that I think putting together something that's a good mix of both, I would say, is the only way. Now, if you ask me about exactly which technology, I would say very difficult, because it really depends on the problem that you're solving for an organization. So, for example, if one of the challenges was to solve or build more transparent lines of communication, or to build more, again, I'll reiterate, this is about solving a problem. So, for example, if this is about integrating technology, then how would one look at neuroplasticity in the workplace, and maybe even think of something like I know for a fact that there is a company that runs an induction program that's completely based on virtual reality. Now, you've actually, by building an immersive learning experience, given people an opportunity to adapt, absorb way better than what maybe a boring classroom session would have been, right? Or if you heard of Bandersnatch, so Bandersnatch is like a series where you decide the course of a story that goes in. So there are multiple scenarios shot, and if you think, and based on your decision making, the story plot goes in a certain way. Or using AI-driven personalized development programs or learning programs, and tracking efficiency or efficacy of each of these. I mean, these are some of the things that you could do, because you're building, at the end of the day, you're sort of hoping on the fact that our brains will rewire themselves time and again, and provide these smaller nuggets. Another thing that I think is, from a learning perspective, and is not just about what to learn or how to train people, but I also think it's about how people learn in a workplace. So if you look at it at a heart to heart, I mean, if you look at it, most of your learning doesn't happen through your interactions on email. It happens through the conversations you have with peers.
Yes.
Now, this is not just about fostering open communication, but it's also about looking at your own organization structure. So, for example, if everything in an organization runs on a hierarchical model, right, and communication only flows a certain channel, versus say having a mesh as or a beehive kind of a approach, where people are able to learn from each other, because the framework and the structure of what you put in your organization or in a particular team, I think we tend to learn better if you're with peers through open interactions without the worry of hierarchy. And as long as there's like an open door to some of these ideas and thoughts, learning is much faster. So, two specific areas now that I go back to your question. First, of course, would be from a perspective of work hierarchy and structure and building more flexible hierarchical structures of work arrangements in an organization. That's what HR can really help in. And the second is looking at how people learn and building immersive programs that are personalized, either using tech or not using tech, to then be able to build something.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, so it's easier to learn and more interesting to learn when we are with our peers, right? I believe it's just like the group study sessions we used to have when we were kids, right?
Yeah, something similar.
Yeah, exactly.
But a group study, Dipshi, I might add, which is not just a mix of peers. It's a mix of, say, young, fresh talent and experienced folks all sitting together, not worrying about who's who at the table.
Yes.
Openly sharing viewpoints.
Yes, exactly. So we are almost at the end of the session. So last but not the least, what actionable steps can HR take to instill a culture of continuous learning? And in what ways can digital learning platforms create an environment conducive to continuous learning?
Okay, so extremely long question. Can I break it up into two parts?
Yes, sure.
First is how can HR instill a culture of continuous learning?
Yes.
Okay. First and foremost, I think the most important thing that HR can do is to build customized learning pathways for individuals, or offer mentorship programs, or even run reverse mentoring programs, and integrate somehow your learning experience into your performance reviews as well. Because the impact of what you learn should at the end of the day be seen on your bottom line.
Yes.
Like at Never Grow Up, we have this philosophy called people first to deliver customer first. Right? So this is about you build your team in a way that they can deliver to your customers. Because if you don't have people, how will you deliver to customers?
Yes.
And if they're not skilled enough, you won't have happy customers. And you don't have happy customers, I wonder if you'll have money to pay salaries.
Yes.
And since both are so interconnected, I cannot even emphasize on the importance of, say, a well-skilled, well-oiled engine, or some brilliant minds solving problems and what difference it can make for an organization. So instilling a learning culture, I would say, is one of the key milestones for human resources as a team. Now, to take a second part of the question, which is how can technology be leveraged? Look, first and foremost, I would say setting up formal learning management systems, virtual classrooms, AI-driven learning recommendations and pathways, and then, of course, making all of this measurable. I would say that's the second part of the puzzle, and that would be my 2 bits on this.
Okay, thank you so much, Asif, for sharing your insightful knowledge with us. So, as we wrap up, could you summarize the key points discussed throughout the podcast with some final insights or takeaways?
Okay, I would say there's just 3 things that I can do to summarize. Number 1, know that we can learn, and our minds can be trained to learn new things irrespective of what career stage or life stage we're at. Second is that when you're driving change, start top down. And third is leverage technology in a way that it makes people's lives simpler so that they can get more out of work and keep the learning process continuous.
Exactly. So thank you so much, Asif, for joining us today, giving us your valuable time.
Thank you.
I hope you had a pretty good session as well.
Oh yeah, this is pretty interesting.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a good day ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. You too. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast. Please do subscribe to Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and our YouTube channel for new episodes.